Those who are not aware about Jaipur, I would just like to first give a brief introduction about the location of Jaipur. It's South Asia, uh, part of South Asia in India, about 200 miles away from Delhi. And this is one of the metros which is still evolving. It's a state supported project. And it's a very modest beginning with a 10-kilometer line to be commissioned next year, and that too in the record time frame of 2.5 years from the date of decision. It's one of the most important tourist attraction in India. About half of the visitors who come to India visit Jaipur. It's known as the Pink City with lot of architecture, heritage and culture. This is also the capital of western state of India, Rajasthan, which is known for its sand dunes, camels and folklores. It's a metropolis with a population of 3.1 million. It was indeed a courageous step by the state government because so far the metro running in the country is in the places where the population is beyond 5 million, like in Bangalore, Delhi, and Kolkata. And the other projects which are coming up in India, Hyderabad and Chennai, also have population much more than Jaipur. Jaipur does have a large floating population because of the visitors from domestic and the foreign tourist. It is part of the golden triangle of tourism in India comprising Jaipur, Delhi, Agra. It has a very robust tourism infrastructure in the city. It's also emerging industrial hub with the special economic zones and other industrial estates coming up close to vicinity of Jaipur. It includes IT-based industries, gem and jewelries, textile, carpets, handicrafts. It is also institutional hub. Large number of students come from all over the country to study there and do research. It's an exposition hub and it's well connected by air, rail and road. The city has grown exponentially. It is one of the fastest growing cities in India with a population growth rate of about 33% per decade. The route has been planned along the two major arteries that run through the east-west and north-south corridor of the city, which that's the arteries where maximum development has happened. We have started implementing east-west corridor, which is basically 10-kilometer long line, to be precise 12.067. Initially for the first phase, we have taken up the elevated stations outside the walled city, which is the heritage city. And of these, the civil construction has begun about a year back, and about 60% of civil construction has been completed. And we hope to commission the project next year by July 2013. That should be the fastest project ever implemented on the metro sector. We have 8 elevated and 3 underground stations as part of this corridor. The underground section of 2 stations, Choti Chopad, Badi Chopad, would be taken off after the commissioning of the 10-kilometer section. The second corridor of 23.09 kilometers has also been planned. That is being done on a unique model of public-private partnership. In India, the metro projects are being executed by 2 models, one by state funding, the other through the private developers. In case of private developers, Government of India has evolved a mechanism to fund those projects. About 40% of the project cost is funded through viability gap funding by Government of India. And apart from that, the land is given to the developer so that the revenues through the property development can compensate for the capital investment required to make the projects viable in the beginning. So this 23-kilometer corridor would be implemented through public-private partnership, and steps have already been initiated for operationalization of this corridor also. So I just talked about the unique hybrid structure. To implement the first phase at a very fast pace, the government decided to do through its budgetary resources through the state-owned company, that's Jaipur MetroRail Corporation. And the contractors were selected, the works were awarded, and all the procurement orders were also placed so as to ensure commissioning in 2.5 years. It's partly political also because the elections are due next year, end of the year, 2013, December. So the state government decided to go ahead and complete within its tenure so as to show the results. And the next corridor would be commissioned in 2018, that is 23 kilometers. After the commissioning of the phase 2 of the corridor, the PPP developer would be getting the corridor 1 also for operation and maintenance. So therefore, he would have the advantage of not investing any money in the corridor 1, but getting the assets on the date of commissioning of corridor 2 for the entire O&M operations. So this is the project structure which has been evolved for the phase 1 on the EPC model, which is funded by the state government directly through state government. Phase 2 is by the PPP model, public-private partner, and operation and maintenance for 30 years by the PPP operator after commissioning of the second project. Till the time the second corridor is commissioned, the first corridor would be run by the state government company, that is Jaipur MetroRail Corporation. The initial project cost for phase 1 is US dollar 572 million, and capital cost of phase 2 is 1197 million. The total project cost is estimated to be 1716 million. These are some of the pictorial views of structures, and these are some of the pictures of the current work which is going on there. Civil work, about 60% of 10-kilometer corridor has been completed in the first year of its construction. All the procurement, all the orders for the procurement of rolling stock, S&T, AFC have been placed, and recruitment of manpower has been started for operation and maintenance of the corridor. For the phase 2, the consultants were appointed, and thereafter the qualification document was floated, and five consortiums had participated. Out of that, 4 consortiums have been selected. That includes Reliance Infrastructure Limited, Gammon, Iridium, Soma ICF, and SR Samsung. The financial bidding for phase 2 is underway. It's likely to be completed before close of this calendar year, and thereafter the work would begin in the next calendar year. Now I'll talk about how the rapid and cost-effective implementation of the project was taken up. There were a lot of processes which were looked into before keeping the project on the fast track. The policy level, there was firm political commitment that it has to be completed in 2.5 years time frame, and for that whatever decisions are required would follow that. There was initial support to the project by budgetary resources instead of waiting for the taxes to be raised, creating a consensus in the city for the citizens to vote for a new tax regime. It was decided that budgetary support would be provided in the beginning, and there will be a commitment to provide budgetary support for completion of the project. And in the midterm, the resources would be raised through the service charges on the users in the Jaipur region, so as to reduce the dependence on the budgetary resources. So therefore, it helped us in starting the project immediately after taking decision. Then our project was started with the unique project model where the Delhi MetroRail Corporation, which has the experience of executing similar projects in Delhi, was awarded the contract without going into the different processes, which would have taken another 4 to 6 months' time. The integration of local development authority was done with the Jaipur MetroRail Corporation. Jaipur Development Authority, which is responsible for the development of Jaipur region, is heading the Jaipur MetroRail Corporation. The same chief executive is looking after both the authority and the MetroRail Corporation, so as to ensure that the day-to-day civic operations are in tandem, and there are no problems in shifting of utilities, there are no problems due to traffic and other issues in the city, and the civil construction can proceed at a fast pace. At the operational level, the land is a major issue in some of the countries in Asia, and acquiring land is one of the most difficult aspects for any infrastructure project. For this, a new relief and rehabilitation scheme was drafted. Land was taken through negotiations with consent from the landowners wherever required. So this helped us in speedy acquisition of land by negotiations, and which paved the way for faster execution of civil works. So we started civil works, and parallelly land acquisition process was also started, and we continued through negotiations with the citizens to take land parcel by parcel, and we made parallel processes which land is required early. For that land, we will have negotiations first. We constituted committees for that, and at the market rates they were negotiated, and thereafter the work in those stretches could begin. So we completed the process of land acquisition for the phase 1 in 6 months time frame, which is otherwise very difficult in some of the infrastructure projects in the country. Then support of traffic control board for regulating the traffic day-to-day management, so that the work could continue 24/7, and wherever diversions were required were also looked into. Without causing inconvenience to people, they were taken onto board, and they were also informed of decisions from time to time, and their support was taken. The parallel processing of civil works, procurement of rolling stock and S&T works, that was also taken up. And we did ensure that whatever we procure today should work for next 50, 60 years, and it should be updated with the latest technology. So therefore, we did do some research on what was already available in the country and outside, and procurement orders were placed with the latest in the technology. So we did not compromise on technology, but still we did at a very fast speed to ensure parallel processing of all these works. Then interdepartmental coordination, because a lot of land is involved of various government departments apart from the private land. So an apex committee was given the powers to take land from those departments wherever required, because land is one of the most emotive and crucial issues to handle infrastructure projects in the country. There were processes which were looked into at the technical level also, like standard design protocols adopted in the latest metro execution by Delhi MetroRail Corporation were taken, so as to reduce the time in the design standardization, and also to ensure early procurement of rolling stock. The alignment on major roads were taken to minimize land acquisition. This is for the outer part of the city, where the heritage aspect was not coming in the way of metro construction. At the organizational level, we took the decision to have a lean and thin organization and outsource most of the consultancy work, and hired the consultants and experts so as to make the decision-making process very quick. The manpower from various regulatory agencies was sourced into Jaipur MetroRail Corporation, including the Local Development Authority, Local Municipal Corporation, and other regulatory bodies, so that they could get the necessary clearances from the concerned agencies at a fast pace. As I spoke earlier, there is a common leadership at the Urban Development Department and local authority level, which helped in integration of authority and helping in the sorting of the day-to-day issues. A strong legal team was framed to address the legal issues, because in India, it's a very free and open society, and people can approach judiciary on very small issues, including the land disputes. So the efforts were made to negotiate, and also to have the strong legal team which could address their grievances if they had any. Financing has been a major challenge. In the beginning, we started with the budgetary support, but we realized that if we need to expand the network, we need to create dedicated metro fund. This is a commitment of the state government, and through a legislative framework, the dedicated metro fund has been created. This dedicated metro fund would ensure that in times to come, we are able to expand in the city. And for this, as some of our friends talked about the TOD development, transit-oriented development. Some of those measures have already been initiated, learning from Hong Kong and Singapore. like betterment levy for premium FAR along the two corridors has been levied, and the mixed-use land pattern has been encouraged. Additional taxes, cess, and duties have been levied, like the green cess, cess on registration of vehicles. They have already been levied, and the regular stream has started flowing into dedicated metro fund. The non-farebacks revenue also is an important source, and for that also the property development and advertisements, parking, other sources have been looked into. The multilateral agencies have been approached for soft-term lending for future expansions, and the state government and government of India are committed to provide 40% of the viability gap funding. That's the financing pattern in the country, and so far 7 metro projects in the country have been sanctioned by government of India. The challenges which we have in this rapid implementation is once we complete phase 1 and operate it on our own, after 5 years when the public private partnership developer comes up and integrates both the phases, there we would need to be very careful, and negotiating those contracts and ensuring that integration is smooth will be one of the challenges which we'll have to see. Then the system integration, so both the corridors are different, but still there will be compatibility issues, particularly at the stations where there is an interchange. There are financial issues which all the metro companies are facing in India. That's how to finance the projects at lower interest rates, particularly after hedging risk is covered by the lending agencies. Then consolidated of dedicated metro fund, presently we are looking at 10 kilometer and then 23 kilometer long network, but as we grow, the size of the fund has to increase, and therefore the negotiation with people to have a larger fund through levies, taxes and user charges, that's a challenge which we will have to face in future. Self-sustainability is another important aspect which we would be looking at. Urban integration issues, we have started some measures on TOD development, but a lot of changes in the bylaws and relaxations in the existing laws along the corridors have to be looked into. The heritage related issues, particularly in the walled city of Jaipur, are very important. How to go ahead with the underground railway with a high cost, and also be able to manage the heritage related sensitivities within the city during construction and after construction. The multimodal integration, our bus system is not very old, just 4 years back we started BRT system. So integration with the bus system and biking is not very popular in India. The status symbol of owning a car is one of the most important things which every Indian middle class family has in mind. So changing those perceptions and bringing about a sea change in the modes of transport to be used is a challenge. As on date, 19% of the population travel through public transport, which is very low share. To raising it to somewhere around 40 to 50% would be a major challenge. We have streamlined relief and rehabilitation policy, but this is something which will remain a challenge in years to come as we expand, as it's a very open democracy and judicial system is independent of the executive, where a lot of people do go into litigations, and managing the litigations is one of the important issues. Increased ridership, skilled manpower to handle these works will be some of the other challenges which will be faced with. Thank you.